It's a great day to be a coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back to Pack Podcast, where we're going to be bringing you all of your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussion with our fellow coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackToPackSD. With that being said, let's jump in. All right, what's going on, Grant? How you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself? Good to be back.
It feels great to be back, and I think this new schedule that we have set up now, it's going to help Coyote fans really get a hang of what's going on throughout the season. We're not going to overwhelm them in one episode.
I agree. I think we're on a good track, and boy, today's a lot more fun when you just get to dominate on Saturdays, right?
Yeah, Saturday for sure makes it easy to chat about the game. There's
It
definitely
does.
it's going to be hard to find a down spot on that, but with that being said, I first of all, to everybody that's watching currently, I'd like to introduce to you guys the fan of the week. This is a big deal. Grant was the Yote Boat.
That's right. That's right. If you guys were at tailgate, you got to see the Yote boat make its maiden voyage to tailgate. Uh, it went well. People were excited, and that's yeah, tailgate of the game. So we were excited. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure it'll make another appearance, weather permitting.
All right, so we have to ask, with the fan of the game, do you guys get anything with this,
You
or is it
do.
just pride?
They, I mean, mostly pride, but we did get a banner that says "Tailgaters of the Game," so we
Yep,
had it hanging on the Yote boat. But
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So and Rodney, who is the owner of the Yote boat, really wanted that banner, so he was thrilled.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember you said something that's what you guys were doing it for. That's you went all in trying to win that award, and look at that.
That's right. We were there to win.
Yeah, effort showed on it. Now, I think we should start the show right away with one of the two announcements.
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah.
So, as you guys have always seen, our logo has 3 coyotes on there, but it's been really just Mitch and I for the last few months now, with Jordan jumping over to his podcast. We've been looking for our third, and surprisingly enough, Grant did well enough where we want him back every week. So let's introduce the newest member of Back to Back to with you, Grant.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys won't regret it. We'll find out.
We'll find out. It'll be, I think, what, the 5th or 6th episode when you'll
There you
start
go.
showing your true colors.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, perfect. And and leaning into that tailgate, it was an absolute blast.
It was. Tailgate was great. We were talking about it. I think it's one of the most fun tailgates we've had in a long time. The stars kind of aligned, right? I mean, it was perfect weather.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Yotes are, top 4 now in the country. Like, what more could you ask for, right? So it was perfect. It was a great time, great crowd,
Yes.
a lot of fun for sure.
I will say I was very fortunate enough with the Alex Lemonade Stand helping Aiden Bauman out on those donations. I'll get into that more in a bit. But what it opened me up to doing was walking around tailgate. And
Yes,
I ran into a handful of classmates that I haven't seen since I graduated or since they graduated, if they're older than me. And all of them said, "This is absolutely blowing me away. This is not what it was like in college." I was like, "I know. It's fun.
it
This is a
is.
blast."
It really is. You're exactly right. It's like you got to get to tailgate, but you got to do a couple laps, and you'll run into people that you see and know, and everybody's excited. It's really good. I think I will say too. Obviously, the next tailgate being Dakota Days, I expect it to be even better. So I'm really excited. I mean, that's of course more than half the fun is being to tailgate and getting to kind of chum it up with everybody.
Exactly. And well, we got the man here that we can ask for a favor on in getting into the tailgate early. We see Jaron Duffy making his appearance in the comment section. So welcome, Jaron. And we're breaking down the gates early for D-Days, just so you're aware. Eh, I'm ready. I had a blast. So,
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was great. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year.
and with it, I'll jump into the lemonade stand, Alex's lemonade stand, helping Aiden out.
Yeah,
That
that was
was a
great too.
blast. Uh, Kind of got me back into my sales days when I used to sell cars. And I tell you what, I went into it at tops expecting maybe raise $100.
Right.
And that's kind of where I left it at, and just hope for the best. And as it went, the amount of people that are just like, well, I'm not going to take a shot, but here, 20s, 50s. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's one of those things where it's like the least surprising thing ever to hear Yo fans were excited to help out a good
Hmm.
cause. Like that's seems so on brand for Yo fans. So I was glad to see that, and glad that you had the success with that. So now the pressure's on though for you because now, like you said, you might be up till 2, 3 in the morning. Making the Yote shots. So
You know what?
prepare accordingly.
My fridge still smells like Jello, and that was with only 45 Jello shots. And I told wife when I got home, I'm like, that was too much fun. I think I'm gonna shoot for 100 now. So
Yeah,
my goal, yes, I 100%. I want to double the donations next
there you
time.
go. Yeah,
There were some spots that I did not tap into, so I have some resources, some untapped wells, you might say.
there you go.
I'm gonna go check them out. But all in all, I will say $360 were raised off of these Jello shots,
Awesome.
and Coyote fans absolutely, even at where I expected and above where I expected, we still went past that. We blew the roof off of this.
That's awesome.
And now, with it, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a challenge to the other Coyote podcast. I think we
There
need
you
to have a
go.
little fun with this. So you got us here, obviously, at Back to Pack, but then you got the Howling podcast with the three over there. I think we turn this into a competition.
I don't see why
Let's see
not.
who can
I
raise
think Aiden would love it.
a competition that everybody benefits from, and the easiest way to put Aiden on top.
Absolutely.
So I challenge the Howling podcast, 100 Jello shots, both sides. Let's see who can raise the most amount of money.
Love it.
All right. But tailgate isn't where the weekend stops.
No, no, just where it begins.
Exactly. Let's talk about first impressions of the game.
First impressions are eh, what a domination. We were just talking about earlier this week. I was trying to think of a conference game with this much implications on it where we just absolutely dominated from the very first minute. I mean, it's sounds
Mhm.
cliche to say it, but the game never felt like they were even remotely close to competitive from the start of the first horn. So
Mhm.
I was not expecting that. I don't think anybody was expecting that knowing the history of SIU and their success in the past, a ranked team coming to the dome. But I mean, to be quite honest, the game was over after one quarter. I mean, that just
Yeah.
doesn't happen in the Valley, right? That just doesn't happen unless you are a dominant force.
Mhm.
I was thrilled. It makes the rest of the game a lot of fun when you're that
Exactly.
dominant. So,
I do feel bad for the casual fans during these games because this is not normal. And
right,
the people that don't know those backup numbers, then they get
right,
bored with it and they start seeing, okay, well, that was only a 5-yard run, which is
yeah,
an amazing run in its own in the Missouri Valley game.
right,
But then they're like, well, where's that 60-yarder to Karan or the 77-yard to Galbraith? Well, we're not going to keep opening up our playbook on it when the game is more than well in hand.
right, right. Yeah, the game got out of hand quickly, and
Mhm.
we talked about it a little bit, but even the very first drive for SIU, it was a 3 play drive and two were sacks. I mean,
Exactly.
it just set the tone right away. And so kudos to the defense, right? Because
Yes.
that's exactly where it was. I thought we had uh, the fans that were there were very engaged, at least from where our section was. So
Mhm.
I think that helped kind of spark a little bit of energy in the defense. But once the Yotes got the ball after that first drive, it was touchdown, 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 right? So uh,
Exactly.
it was phenomenal, great game.
Well, in the wildest, and so I'm just kind of looking at play by play here.
Hmm.
And you said who expected it. Now, how we got there, I did not expect. I did not expect a blowout at
Right?
halftime,
Yeah. Yep.
but I am going to toot my own horn a little bit.
Uh huh.
41-17 was my prediction.
That's right. That's right. I think
Mhm.
you had to be the closest of us three. I was
I
way
felt,
off. I thought it was going to be a grinder,
yep.
classic Missouri Valley game, but it was not at all.
Well, somebody's got to have be up in the clouds, right?
Yeah, I love it. Let's stay up there.
But exactly. But no, it was one of those things when I first went into the game and on that prediction, I truly thought, okay, this is SIU, who is number 17, and we need to do exactly what we did to them. I thought it was going to be 4 quarters, let's score 10 points each quarter, and there we're at 40. But to do it the way we did was unbelievable. I thought this SIU team was really down based off injuries, but fortunate enough, actually, Dogs Football, who covers SIU football, basketball, they reached out to me on Twitter and just had a little DM back and forth after the game. And I kind of wanted to get the information just so we could prove that this was a quality win.
Hmm.
And so I did ask, I mean, how many players were actually missing? And his response was just the backup running back. All of the O line played who have played all season. Didn't matter which ones started, which ones just played the most. They were all pretty consistent. Nobody from recent weeks who went down didn't suit up besides their tight end. He is out for the season. They just played awful, was his response.
See, and that's
And
interesting because our impression was late last week is that they had a host of injuries that were
mhm,
really going to affect them, and it sounds like that's maybe not the case, or not as much as maybe we were let on to earlier or late last week. So that's very interesting, and actually, to your point, makes it even more of a statement game that
exactly.
if that's the gap between 17 and 4, oh boy, right? That's the
Yep.
that's that's an interesting one. I have a feeling it's not. I think there'll be more competitive games ahead, but boy, it was great for us. So
Exactly. And with it, we did definitely put our impression out on not just USD fans and SIU fans. I don't if anybody follows Reddit FCS on Twitter,
hmm.
they tweeted out saying that they they're not sure if the Bunnies are not just the best team in the nation. They're not sure if they're even the best team in the state anymore.
I, I s-
Eh,
I saw that tweet as well. It makes you smile as a Yote fan, right?
exactly.
I'm
And
not I'm not going to say anything yet, but it makes me smile.
well, I just wanted to put a bucket under it to catch those rabbit tears. I'm a fan of those. So, but that at least some people are starting to notice like that SIU, maybe they weren't as down as we thought,
Hmm.
and maybe USD is better than we think they are, which we've all been kind of saying, at least in our close circles.
Yeah, yeah. I think the way that we did it too is important too, right? Because dominated, over 300 yards rushing, and really those first two drives, those
Hmm.
were not, quick strike drives. We certainly had those
No.
later, but the first two drives were 9 plays and 12 plays respectively, and heavy run, which is
Yes.
when I was watching it, live, you see him dominating. I went back and watched a little bit of the game on TV, and the holes the O line are creating were enormous. I mean, they were
Yep.
just dominating that line of scrimmage. So to your point, like 5 yards a carry was almost the minimum, the way that
Yeah.
line was playing.
Exactly.
So huge shout out to the O line. They just really did dominate and push that line of scrimmage.
So I think this is a perfect segue into just the offensive breakdown,
Yeah.
which this easiest definition for this offense was a clinic.
Hmm. It really was.
I mean, Aiden was surgical with that ball, 11
Mhm.
for 17, and there was at least 2 or 3 drops, where the receivers did get popped. Like, I'm not gonna say they
Mhm.
just dropped the ball because they weren't putting in the effort on it. It was they got hit pretty good. I felt bad for Kron on one of them. He did have to slow down, and
Yeah.
he got thumped good,
Yep.
but that was impressive work.
It was. I mean, to your point, the obvious impressive work is, in the running game, right, where we
Mhm.
just dominated both running backs over 100 yards rushing, right? So, but I actually was really happy to see that even though we dominated there, we continued to air it out. I think both you and I called for JJ to have a big game,
Yep.
which he answered the bell, right? I mean, I think it was 96 yards and a touchdown coming on 2 catches, right? The big 80-yarder. But um, that I love seeing that get open. Um, the other one I really liked is right before the end of halftime, the one to Adams, like we had talked about as well,
Mhm.
where that is such an easy spot, and especially in years past, it's such an easy spot for us to say, "Hey, we're satisfied with what we've got. Take a knee, head into the locker room, or
Yeah.
run a couple power plays and just head into the locker room." But we said, no, this is this is Missouri Valley football, right? This is,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't Drake, this isn't Northern. We're here to play ball. So I love that play call before
Yes.
halftime, and that's what really. The game was long over before then, but that took it to 35-7 going into halftime, and then really you're now literally in cruise control for the second half, which is great.
Yep. Now, I will say, I think it was one of those things too, and you're 100% right. A minute 40, I think, was left on the clock when we got the ball after SIU just scored. And
Hmm.
it's one of those things where you always have that little bit of concern. Like now it's only a 3 possession game.
Hmm.
And then we go out, first play, we run the ball to Tice, 12-yard pop. Second play, 17-yard run by Tice with a penalty on, actually, it was on South Dakota on the personal foul there for excess. Oh, I remember that one. That was
Yeah, yeah,
the after the play, excessive blocking is what I'm going to call that penalty.
yeah, yeah.
Because I feel bad for Joey on that. He got up. He's like, "What did I do? I was just blocking the guy I was supposed to."
Right.
And even Coach Nielsen was not upset. But then the absolute dime to Karan, and it really puts a staple into it. Like, hey, SIU scored, but they're not going to get momentum in this game.
Hmm. Yeah, also huge too because then we end up getting the ball at halftime as well too.
Yes.
So that's where I think it would have been even easier for them to just to say, "Hey, let's just run this clock out. We know we get it at halftime. That's an easy spot to be
Mhm.
in." But I just love that we went deep for it and really kind of put the foot on the throat, if you will. And that, I mean, the game was over before that, in my opinion, but that really pretty well ended the game.
Yep. And just as a whole for this game on the offensive side, you already brought it up. First few touchdown series were 9 plays, 12 plays, and then we also had a touchdown in the second half of 8 play drives.
Hmm.
And that really fortifies what we can do for those grind out games. But then for those games where, all right, we need to grab some momentum, we have a 1 play, 80-yard touchdown. We have a 3 play,
Right.
77-yard drive. And then we have a 3 play, 75-yard drive. We can do it all now.
Yeah, that's the other fun part about it too. It's scary enough to see the 302 total rushing yards, right? You can win a lot of games just being a one trick pony doing that kind of numbers, but when you couple
Mhm.
it with the past success we had as well, that's a scary team for anybody to come up against every week. So uh,
It-
it's great for us to see too because I felt like we have not had a good measuring stick for
Yep.
what this team can be, right? The weirdness with Portland State canceling the game, playing D2 Northern, playing non-scholarship Drake, going to FBS, Wisconsin. None of those really gave you a good gauge of what we have. I think,
Mhm.
a lot of us who follow close felt really good about going into the season. So this really kind of validates a lot of those good thoughts where we think, boy, this team's ready to make a deep push here, in my opinion. So
Yep, exactly. And the craziest part, looking at those stats, anybody will walk away with 500 plus yards of total offense and go, that was a great game. We did
mhm.
fantastic. The funniest part is, I remember plays where I'm like, what are you doing? Carter Bell is running a perfect flag route, and he's wide open at 50-yard touchdown. And it's very capable aid and throw, but we're just running, he's hitting these 10-yard outs instead.
Mhm.
So we left points on the field, and we know it's going to be talked about in film. And who knows? Maybe Aiden they don't want to expose those plays at that point too because it's in hand. But there were points left out on the field.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think not to not to sound too crazy, but I think they could have scored pretty much as many points as they wanted to, right? There's
Yes.
obviously some strategy into that, like you said, of okay, we don't need to take a shot 50 yards down the field. Let's take a conservative one and work some of that in. But I think you're right. There was really no indication that SIU was going to stop us in really any fashion. So
Yep.
um, that was really good to see.
All right. Anything else that you'd want to cover on offensive side?
No, I think that's all. That's all I had.
I will say, if there's for the folks that are actually watching and following along with us, if you have anything that you want to bring up, feel free to shout out. I can tell you I'm no coach. I miss a lot of things. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, I don't
yeah.
I've said that before. I don't claim to be an X's and O's guy. I just, take what I see a little bit, but, sorry, I do have one thing I forgot to
Yeah.
mention. Yards after contact by the running backs was
Mhm.
phenomenal. So,
I
that was fun to see, right? That's when you get people excited.
I wish we had a stat line for that like they do in the NFL. Like
It's it was crazy, and I think it really popped out when I watched it on TV, is that where
yeah.
those yards after contact, but, I mean, kudos to Pierre Jr. and Tice on those, like, that's just breaking arm tackles, and,
Mhm.
again, a suspicious SIU defense, but nonetheless, this is a Valley team, so,
Which I don't even wanna call them suspicious because last year they absolutely dominated us in every facet of the game besides the scoreboard. They
yeah.
had, like, 3 times as many yards as us.
Oh, yeah, they were premier defense last year, and this year, it's just, for whatever reason, has changed dramatically, so,
Yep, exactly, and then actually, you bring it up now I remember one point too that I wanted to mention. The amount of disrespect that opposing defenses have on our receiver core is driving me nuts. SIU was lined up in press coverage hard all game, and I was actually impressed with their ability to keep the receiver off of his route from the start, but they also have, I think, the best receiver core, definitely in the Missouri, if not FCS.
Mhm,
So they get to practice against that every year or every week.
sure.
But they lined up. I mean, they could not get any closer to our receivers without going
Yeah.
off sides. So it's something that I think, and we saw him take advantage of it a few times. But I think with the receivers that having the ability to work on their being able to get the break on that, it could play off dividends down the road when I think we have tougher opponents.
Absolutely, yeah, that is exciting too, because that's like you said, that creates big plays at certain opportunities, so we like those.
Exactly. All right, now I think it's time to jump over to defense.
Yeah.
That along with the, I mean, we can use clinic for both sides of the ball.
You
Uh,
really can. Yeah, you're exactly right. Both sides of the ball that, dominated, right? I mean, it's like I think the total yardage that we gave up maybe is even a little deceiving. We gave up 366 of total yards, but
mhm.
never felt that way. I think it was more of a product that we were scoring so quickly that they were getting the ball back relatively
Yes.
quickly and frequently as well. So, um, the only thing I guess I was shocked by, I will say defensively, not necessarily bad or good, no turnovers by either team actually, but no
Yeah,
turnovers
very
from
clean game.
SIU. I thought for sure, we talked about it. We said SIU is going to pass the ball 40, 45 times. They ended up passing 41 times.
Mhm.
So to throw the ball around that many times with this secondary and not uh, have a turnover, I guess, kudos to them, I guess. I don't know if that's, that what they would want to hear, but yeah,
Yeah.
really, that was the only thing that kind of shocked me. I really did think between like a strip sack, like we talked about, or
Mhm.
a pick, we would have something. But again, maybe one of those games where it's kind of a moot point when you're just dominating that much at the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. Well, first, I think the closest we had to a turnover was Aiden scrambling for 12 yards
Oh yeah.
and not knowing how to slide. And so he got thumped. Luckily, his elbow touched and the ball came out. But
Hmm.
yeah, now I actually lost count. I will say this because we had at least 7 pick opportunities, if I remember correctly, that went right through our receivers' hand or our corners' hands, or their receivers ended up playing DB a little bit and knocking it out.
Hmm.
Our chances were there. They
Right.
really were.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it goes back to that point, right? You throw it enough times, it's just bound to happen between a tip or
Mhm.
you know, guy slips, guy, runs a route not exactly like the QB thought. So that was a little bit surprising. I'm not concerned. I thought the defense and the DBs
Yeah.
played well regardless, right? I think we gave up one long pass play, which I went back and watched that too. I looked, we kind of sold out a little bit, and the quarterback took such a shot on that
Oh, he
play.
got his
Oh my,
world rocked.
just hit so hard, which I
Yep.
know every quarterback will trade a hard hit like that for a touchdown. But in
Mhm.
my opinion, if that's the way you give one up is because you're bringing pressure and trying to mix things up, get in the quarterback's face, I don't think the quarterback makes that throw very often because he got absolutely walloped on that one.
Yeah. And I know the Southern Illinois fans watching the game as he took that hit all took a huge sigh of relief when he stood up and walked away from it.
Yes, yes.
So, but yeah, that was, I mean, Gary Bryant was all over the place. And that's who, I mean,
Mhm.
absolutely laid the hit out. But I think it really comes to the first few series by, well, honestly, the first 4, 5, the first 5 series by SIU, we set the tone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll give you just the play count: 3 plays, 6 plays, 6 plays, 3 plays, 4 plays.
We were off the field quick. In the first quarter especially,
Yes.
but in the first half for sure.
Our defense was getting our offense gassed because they kept
Yeah.
sending it back out there.
Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, and no doubt too, and you mentioned those play counts, the yardage that went with them, right? You're talking about 30 yards, minus 10 yards, 14 yards. So they were not getting any field position whatsoever. Actually,
Mhm.
SIU's best player on Saturday was their punter. He had a leg.
Yeah.
He was doing his best to flip the field, but
He
it
could
just didn't
float it
matter.
though too.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
he almost hit the speaker box a couple times.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
That was crazy. Yeah, he was definitely their best player. Um, but it was just nuts. I I really don't have much to say about the defense because it was a workman's effort.
Yeah.
Everybody showed up to work. Everybody worked
Mhm.
overtime. No one really stood out on defense in the right way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say in the right way, right? It was just everybody was contributing where we needed them to contribute, right?
Mhm.
And that again, so it's hard to pinpoint like one person having a big moment when you just dominate at all levels, right?
Yep.
Especially the line of scrimmage. So kudos to the defense that again proving once again why they're one of the best in the country at the points per game. 13 points and 6 of the points or the last touchdown in my mind was kind of when it was really out of reach, in the third quarter, which is crazy to say out of reach in the third quarter, but it truly was.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, in reality, after looking at it all being said and done, it was out of reach after the second possession by USD.
Oh, yeah, it did. It truly felt when it was 21-0, I was very
Mhm.
comfortable with the rest of the way. Just the way we got to 21-0, right? It was nothing
Exactly.
fluky. It wasn't a muffed punt. It wasn't a, you know, kickoff return. It was just a we both put our hands in the dirt and we just dominated them. So,
Yep.
uh, yeah, hard not to be excited about the rest of the season here, and uh, yeah, that's about as fun as a game we've been to in a long time. So,
Can you imagine our season going from whooping cough to whooping ass?
hey, there he is.
But yeah, I mean that's really where it was. So I think with that being said, unless do you have anything else you want to touch on for the defensive side of things?
No, I don't think so. I think that's all I had for the defense as well. So,
I think it's time to do a game ball.
I think so.
We
Let's do it.
we both get 2 game balls to give away, offense and defense.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do that.
I'll let you go ahead and start. You go with whoever you want on offense, and then I'll in with mine.
Yeah, I think for offense, I'm actually not gonna go with a specific person. I already mentioned it earlier. Just the whole O line gets the game ball this week because
Yes.
the lanes they were creating, the holes they were creating, made it so easy on the running backs, and I know that those guys would be the first ones to agree with me. So the game ball definitely goes to the O line on the offensive side.
So I actually just thought of this now as you were talking about yours. I'm gonna change mine. I told you mine while we were offline before we started. It was gonna
Hmm.
be Tice, which is very deserving. This
Right.
one's this one's gonna be goofy though for you. It is going to all the offensive players' celebrations. Now, what I mean by that is go back and rewatch the game, rewatch the highlights. You can just tell this team is on another level and they're having an absolute blast with it.
That is true. That is very true.
I think the funniest thing I watched after Karan's touchdown, I watched Aiden run down the field. And it's not even the one that Mitch turned into a gift for us. That's a different
Yeah,
touchdown.
waving his arms around. That's great.
But he found Nevin on the sidelines. So they have a pretty good relationship, it looks like, because they have a long distance handshake, is what I'm going to call it. But
Okay.
he just does a YMCA kind of leaps. And it was hilarious to watch. But the idea of this team just having an absolute ball
Hmm.
as they just destroy this team is perfect. So
Winning is fun.
exactly. And dominating is even more fun.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I did throw you a little curveball there, but this team's fun. I'm having fun. It's a blast. But I think now it's
Absolutely.
time to jump over to the defensive side.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it was kinda hard to your point because there was such a team effort on the defensive side. It just seemed like everyone was so dialed in. Um, I it's an easy answer. I think Gary Bryant, right? That's
Yep.
the easy answer. I think he finished, what was it, 11 total tackles on the day.
Yeah.
So to your point, not surprising he was all over the place. So I think that's an easy place to start. So that's where I'll go with that with the defensive side.
Man, you're gonna take the easy one, so now I'm struggling for mine. So I think I'm gonna go with is the guy that I told everybody to their homework assignment was on
Yep, I
last
knew you
week.
were gonna say
Uh,
that.
Grace is just on a different level than he was last year. We all
Hmm.
saw kind of a shell of what he could be, and it started to really shine through in that Sac State game where he had the scoop and score. Now that guy's all over the place, and credit him too. He got popped when he was down on the turf with a SIU player. I kind of held my breath there
Hmm.
because I didn't see it happen. The ball was already away, but I heard it. But he gets up, walks off on his own power, and goes into halftime. He walked right into the locker room. There was only about 4 minutes left in the first
Hmm.
half, and he comes back out and plays the whole third and some of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And that guy is a menace in any way, shape, and form.
He's truly a matchup problem for any offense, and we're seeing all the benefits of it so far this year. To your point, I think he had a tackle for loss and a sack on the
Mhm.
day. I think he was, according to my stat sheet, he's got 3 quarterback hits as well. So he was a problem for them all day, which is for you and I,
Yep.
that's not surprising whatsoever.
I mean, he's a blast to watch. He's all over the field, and it's really cool to see where he goes. But I think, all right, we gotta do one more game ball, I guess.
Oh, that's right. We got the bonus game ball we got to give out.
Uh, This one we're allowing ourselves one bonus game ball for this game only, and that is a game ball to Coach Nielsen for a happy birthday. 65 years young, doing a great job out there.
Love it. Happy birthday, coach, or happy belated birthday, I should say.
Yeah, happy belated birthday at this point. But I think with that being said, that's all I got.
That's all I got as well. Only thing I'll say now is Coyote fans down the road, but remember there's only one October game
Mm-hmm.
or October home game, excuse me, and that's
Home game.
D-Days. No excuse not to be there. You'll hear me say that probably 3 more times at least before the
Yes.
D-Days game. So go get your tickets now. There's a lot of buzz around this team. I I would be shocked. I'll say it now. I'll be shocked if it's not a sellout. I really
Yeah.
do believe that.
And that's always the perk of D Days. Usually this one always flirts with a sellout. But when I saw the Green Dot Twitter account say we still had 2,100 tickets available for D Days after our game was done, that one actually hurt quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so I that hurt. So I challenge everybody, especially the people that listen, bring one more friend.
Mhm.
I'm working on bringing two other families. They're two previous alumni. Both the husband and wife are alumni. I want to get them to their first game in a long time. Their
That's the game to
spots
do
filling
it.
around me.
Straight up.
Exactly.
That's the game to do it. I was just gonna tell you, we've got our block of 12 tickets. I already have 4 more for D-Days that I know of, and I've
Mhm.
got a couple other Yote friends that it sounds like they're pretty interested. So, just do that. Tell your Yote friends, come to the Dome, and even if they only come to 1 game, that's the game to do it.
Yep, exactly. Now, actually, for the tweet before this episode started, I did say that we had not one, but 2 surprises. First one, of course, welcoming Grant to the Back to Pack crew.
Hmm.
The second one is to tune into, let me double check to make sure I get the channel correct. ESPN 101.5. I will be doing a live interview with them tomorrow morning to discuss Coyote football and Back to Pack podcast as a whole. So definitely check us out in the morning on your commute to work. And then with that being said, I will say as well, because Yote fan did question it, we will be doing a pregame show on Thursday. Our schedule, what we're looking for now, Monday nights to break down the game, and then Thursday nights to preview the game. So look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday. With that being said, go Yotes.
Go Yotes.